Vipassana on the 18th of September, 1979. A genuine samana, or a real bhikkhu, is one who is truly intent for truth and Dhamma. During the time of the Lord Buddha and the time following, there was real substance in about 90% of cases. The text describes the various lives and biographies of various savakas. They left home coming from the various classes and castes of people. But they did not see these things as more important than Dhamma. They were intent on this Dhamma and applied it in their practice. They took this Dhamma as their highest treasured possession. This is true with every Savaka. The Savakas consisted of every class and caste of people. There were kings and princes, court officials, wealthy men, and merchants, and ordinary people. And there were even the poor and the outcasts. The Lord Buddha did not harbor any aversion for them, for Dhamma does not have any aversion for anyone. It is full of metta, and the hearts of the Lord Buddha and all of the Savakas were likewise full to the brim with metta. There was nothing in their hearts that could cause them to have any pride. This snobbery or self-esteem is the work of the kilesas, causing people to become deluded and infatuated with it. All of the Savakas had their heart set and intent on Dhamma, and earnestly practiced it following the way, for the sake of truth and Dhamma. Some of them came out from the highest and most refined class of people, from the families of kings. The 4 living requisites for kings were of the highest and most refined quality. When they left home and took the going forth, they did not take along with them their old habits and ways of life. This included the Lord Buddha and many of the Savakas who came from kings' families. None of them exhibited their kingly ways, which is just the way of the world. When they left home, they also cast away all the 4 living requisites of kings. All they had were the 4 requisites of the samana. These 4 living requisites only come about through the faith or saddha of the lay devotees and from the kind-hearted people. They can be in plenty or lacking, very refined or very coarse. It just depends on what people could afford. But all of the Savakas were contented with them, because their hearts already went in accordance with Dhamma, even before they had attained to Dhamma. The contrasting difference between that time and this time is like 2 different worlds. It seems as if it is not of the same sasana. For the ordinary people and merchants who had lived a hard life, it was no problem for them. Those who were used to living in luxury and easy circumstances, to kingly life and refined ways of living, had cast away all of these things. They were not concerned for dukkha or hardship. They practiced and followed the way of the samana, the way of the bhikkhu, taking it as their basis of heart. They had totally left their worldly ways behind. This is what a real and genuine bhikkhu is like. When one goes out to live in the forests and the hills, there aren't many things that one can take with one to provide one with ease and comfort, like the kinds of comforts the world is used to. Things have to go according to what is available. I used to wander in the hills and forests myself, and I have had some experience of this way of life, so I know what it is like. People give the things that they have, the things that they use, and the things that they eat, following their faith and conviction. And I have some knowledge of this. There is a great contrast from living in the town to living in the forest, and this concerns the living requisites. With this much experience, I can already make comparisons with today and the time of the Lord Buddha, and have some idea what it was like for the Savakas. There, the dwelling was usually in the forest, and had to be at least 1 kilometer away from the vicinity of the village or the town. Or they could be living along the hillsides, or in caves, or by the cliffs. How could they find any ease and comfort from these places? Their hearts, however, were already going in accordance with Dhamma, even before they had attained to Dhamma. They were seeking and endeavoring for Dhamma, with diligent effort, pure intention, and the heart that goes in the way of Dhamma. This was how they trod the way before they could become our Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. A practitioner of Dhamma must not look up to anyone in such a way as he overlooks the Lord Buddha, the Savaka Sangha, and the Dhamma, the way. One would then not be disappointed. When one is going through dukkha and hardship, one has to take up the Lord Buddha and all of the Savaka Sangha as one's ideal and follow their example. All of them had to undergo a lot of difficulty and hardship. They did not take the easy way out. We have to think in this way, we who are the practitioners, as this can be a reminder serving to arouse our heart to become tough and strong, by depending on the example of those who had been tough and strong, and who had gone before us. In crossing the Vata Samsara, which is a vast, boundless, and massive heap of dukkha, one has to go through a lot of difficulty and hardship, the same way that the Lord Buddha and all of the Savakas did before. They encountered a lot of dukkha and torment, and this was especially severe for those who came from the most high and refined classes, much more so than for the merchants and ordinary people who had already been through a lot of hardship before going forth. People are not the same as they come from different backgrounds and different ways of life. So when they have to change their way of living, there must be dukkha and hardship. But they were not concerned about it. They were only mindful and heedful of the instruction given by the Lord Buddha and the way of attaining to the truth and Dhamma. They totally trusted their lives and took up the truth and the refuges with the teaching of the Lord Buddha. They considered the 4 living requisites, gifts and offerings that the lay people had offered to them as the means of sustaining their lives, so that they could fully exert in their practice the development of the Samana Dhamma, and so that they could attain to the realm free from dukkha, following their aim and intention, something that they would be happy with. For this reason, they did not have any concern or worries for the worldly gains, any more than they would for the truth and Dhamma. This is the principle of heart that we have to take up and follow. It is the Buddhaṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi, the way that the Lord Buddha trod, which I have explained countless times. It is the same way with the Saṅghāṃ Saraṇaṃ Gacchāmi. We have to take up their way of practice. We should not see anyone else as transcending or being more worthy than the Lord Buddha or the Sāvakas. Nobody can be as circumspect and thorough and accurate and correct as the Lord Buddha and all of the Sāvakas in the practice of the way that steadily leads one to the state free from dukkha and enable one to attain to that state. This is how we must take them up. If there is dukkha, then let us face it. How can there be no dukkha when we are opposing and struggling with the kilesas, which have been all powerful and domineering within the heart for an immensely long time?